Hey guys, Shutter here. Now in this video I'm going to basically look at every campaign and basically say what I think is the best map, which I think is the worst map. Now, I won't be taking into account stuff like, game modes like Destruction and Assault into account. It's mostly just on the maps. Now, again, obviously, game modes like Assault, obviously Assault maps are definitely worse. I'd say with, Assault and Demolition are worse than something like, say, Armoured Train and obviously Invasion, obviously. But, yeah, I'll be taking a look at the maps and how they play, more or less, and just basically just saying, like, which one's the best, which one's the worst. I'm going to start with Moscow, Normandy, Berlin, Tunisia. Anyways, let's begin with Moscow. For Moscow, it's actually quite interesting. It was quite difficult to pick what I thought was, well, for both maps, for the worst and the best map. Now, for the worst map, I'm going to start with the worst map for Moscow, because it's quite easy. Quarry. Just Quarry in general. It doesn't matter which part of Quarry you're talking about. Quarry North, Quarry South. They're both pretty, they're both awful maps. Basically, it is a camper's paradise, this thing. Campers and snipers paradise. Grey zone campers love this map. This is literally the perfect map for grey zone camping. I don't think there's a single map worse designed in terms of grey zone camping. Even stuff like, for example, Airfield, I think is better designed, because at least there you've got some cover. You've got cover against grey zone campers. And Airfield's still very bad for grey zone camping. For the best map, I'm actually going to go with a Conquest map, and I'm going to go with Kananka River. Now, Kananka River is actually a very good map. Now, honestly, people, like, this one, along with, whatever city, the city map here, they're both very good, so I'm going to put Kananka, I prefer Kananka River over the city map, but it's still, city map's still incredibly good. What I really like about it is it's close quarters, obviously, so, yeah, that's going to play a huge factor into it. But also, because it's just a good Conquest map. Like some Conquest maps, you look at them and just think, okay, immediate skip. Others are actually not too bad, and some, like Kananka River, are actually really good. Obviously, of course, there are bad Conquest maps like Fortified District, and we'll talk about a few more later. But, yeah, I think Kananka is a really good Conquest map, and I think it's probably the best Moscow map, if I'm being honest. Anyways, let's move on to Normandy. Normandy is pretty much, it really depends on the map. The maps are either great or shit. I mean, just look at the invasion maps here. You've got Airfield, D-Day, and Versimo, which are all bad maps. And then you have Guard of St. Lo, Omir, Ruins of Volks, and Lebris, which are amazing maps. Now, there's really no in-between with Normandy. The maps are either great or great piles of shit. And for the best map, I'm going to go with Lebris. It's either side of Lebris. I prefer Lebris West to Lebris East, personally, but they're both really good maps. You've got good long-range engagements, good close-range engagements. You can use every playstyle. Literally, you can use everything. Like, every playstyle is in this map. Like, for some maps, like, for example, Airfield. Airfield is very, very, very long-ranged. Whereas something like Lebris there's long-range engagements, there's open fields, and there's close-range cities. So, you can fight in basically all situations. It doesn't matter if you're fighting, if you're good at tanks, if you're good at long range, you're good at close range. There's always going to be something on Lebris that you can do and you can excel at, which I think is really good, which is why I love the map so much. It's why it's my favourite map. Now, for the worst map, you knew it's coming. It's Swamps. No map is probably as hated as Swamps. Like, I've made the joke video, Quadro made the joke video, where we just basically, we made the exact same joke of, it was literally just, let's, the best part about Swamps is literally just quit out the match at the beginning. Awful map, just god awful, I hate fighting in it. you know, all of the points apart from the sea point are just awful. It's just a bad map. Really, the only thing that's fun about it is if you get in a tank and you just drive around. That's a lot of fun, but yeah. Anyways, let's move on to Berlin. In all honesty, I think Berlin has probably the best map collection of all of the maps. Like, you look at every other map, and they've all got bad maps. You know, you've all got terrible maps. You know, you can look at them and go, yes, that map's terrible. Yes, that map's amazing. With Berlin, really, there's not really that many bad maps. The only map I can actually say which is for sure bad is Lehigh Bramov West. Now, the problem with Lehigh Bramov is that it's just basically it's the first 2 points really. They're really in favour of the defender, but once you get past those, the map's actually not too bad. It's actually ironic that Lehigh Bramov North is actually so much better because the attacker isn't getting spawn camped the second they walk out the second they walk out their spawn point. But yeah, Lehigh Bramov, you need to coordinate well with your team. You need a team that knows what they're doing. Otherwise, or you need an enemy team that's allergic to defending, which can happen on both sides. For the best, I'm going to go with Kroll. Now, the main reason is the Opera House itself. Now, the Kroll Opera House is probably my favourite map on the game, because it's just so good. It's just so fun, you know, just jumping into the Opera House, fighting your way through the Opera House. It's a lot of fun, and it's honestly my favourite. Like, those points in the Opera House are some of my favourite points in the game. As well as that, you also get the bridge at the beginning as well. The bridge is pretty fun to cross. It's always intense. You always have defenders fighting for their lives. It's a lot of fun to fight on Kroll. Now, there are a lot of other great maps, you know. Moat has a good in the Opera House, but it's not really good for the start. Konix Plaza has a really good starting point. HGS, Ministry Garden, and Wilhelmstrasse are all pretty good as well, and Wehrberg is it's okay. It's okay. I mean, and of course the elephant in the room, that's Seelow, which is one of the best game modes in the game, even if it does take about 50 years. But yeah, I think this is actually I think, you know, there's a good collection in for these maps. For this you know, there's a good collection of maps here in Berlin. Anyways, let's move on to Tunisia. I know people shit on Tunisia a lot for its maps, but in all honesty, Tunisia actually has some of the best designed maps. The problem with Tunisia is that there's no standout map, really, other than Al-Har. Al-Har is probably the standout map, and I love Al-Har. It's a really good map. Honestly, it's a fun map. The problem with Tunisia, I think, is that none of the other maps are just average at best. I mean, Fortress is good, Gorge is okay, Algebra Farm is, I mean, it's apart from the one attacking, that 1 point, which is a giant middle finger to an attackers. Kind of like Lehigh Bramov in Berlin. But I think Al-Har is probably the best one because it's very open. Like, it's not open, just entirely open, but you've got lots of opportunities to fight for the streets. The streets are a mixture of short and long range engagement. So again, it's like L'Abri in a way, but not as good as L'Abri. L'Abri was literally, you'd go into one map, then the other, then the other, then the other. Whereas Al-Har flows a lot more smoothly in a way. But it's still a really good city map. And honestly, I'm just going to say it, like, Tunisia doesn't get as much love with some of these maps, like Al-Har and Fortress and Gorge. I mean, Gorge is probably the weakest out of those three. Algebra Farm really only has that 1 point, which is a problem. Oasis, I'll probably put Oasis as the worst map, but honestly, it's not that bad either. The problem with Oasis is it's just really open. But because it's Tunisia and the playstyle favours more open play, you know, it works well Tunisia. It's not as good when you use it, but it's still not as bad as something like, say, Quarry, for example, which is just an open fuck you flat space with lots of grey zone campers. I mean, Oasis probably has some grey zone campers as well. I've only played it a couple times, so I can't actually say. But I mean, the other maps are actually not too bad. Alhar's fun, and so is the maps like Fortress. Fortress is really good. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments about, what's your favourite map from each campaign, what's your favourite map in the game. And I'll see you guys in the next video.